Well, unfortunately, the 2025 season for the New York Mets will begin with a loss as they drop a tough 3-1 game to the Houston Astros on opening day. But lots to look at, lots to talk about. We're going to talk about what we saw in today's game and what hopefully the Mets can improve on in order to get that first victory of the season. Let's talk about it. Roll the music. Welcome to the Mike's Mets Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Pashota, and not quite happy, but not a decent Thursday to everybody. So sorry, unfortunately, we have to begin the first 2025 regular season podcast episode with, unfortunately, a loss to talk about, and it's tough. It was, at times disappointing, frustrating to see the Mets squander multiple opportunities with runners on base, and a lot of credit should be given to the Houston Astros who played pretty well. They came up in situations where they needed to get important runs in. They came through. Ultimately, the game highlights were Astros scoring in the second inning, 1 run in the second inning, 2 runs in the third, and that ended up being enough for them to take the victory. Clay Holmes gets the loss. Framber Valdez would get the win. Credit where credit is due. Framber Valdez pitched an absolutely terrific game. His stuff looked electric. He had great diving action on that curveball. The fastball was well placed. He had good command the entire game. So he looked really great in this game. Clay Holmes not quite up to snuff in this one. He wasn't terrible, but clearly his command failed him multiple times during this game. 4 walks ultimately. Not a good start for Clay Holmes. Things he has to work on definitely for his next start. I can see him being a guy who can consistently throw for maybe 5 innings out there every game. But a big part of that is going to be working on improving his command. And you just can't walk that many guys if you're going to be a guy who's, being limited to maybe about 5 innings, maybe maximum 6. On a start-by-start basis, it's required that you have to be not throwing too many pitches, and this was a situation where he just had consistently kept putting people on base. The Astros were able to manufacture runs, get guys in. There was ground balls forced into runs scored, and it was just a situation where he just had not his best stuff in this one. And you know what? It was a tough position from the begin. Getting an opening day start when you signed with a new team and you're in a new location, and you're expected to pitch the first game of the season for a team that most people are pitting as one of the best teams in the National League this year. It's a lot of pressure. He was not terrible, but certainly not great. So a lot to work on for Holmes in his next start. He has to come in and start pitching, throwing strikes. That's going to be a big part of it for him. But again, Framber Valdez is just terrific. The big news, of course, was Juan Soto, who reached base safely 3 times, 2 walks and a single in this one. And then got the final at bat of the game, which we'll talk about in a minute. But other than that, again, Valdez pitched a really strong game. The Astros took advantage of a key Met error in the 3rd inning, which led to them scoring. Astros in total 7 hits. Mets finished with 6. the story of the game for the Mets was a lot of runners being left on base. Just not so good. Very, very bad for them on their part. Want to shout out Huascar Brazaban, who looked very good in relief. Pitched two and a thirds innings. Looked electric. I mean, Brazaban again was one of those guys I talked about yesterday in my episode. If you haven't seen that yet, please check it out. But Brazaban was one of the guys kind of on the bubble as to whether or not he was going to actually make the team. Ultimately did, which paid off for the Mets in a big way. But them signing, or rather, Brazaban making the team, paid dividends for them because he was, I thought, just terrific in that relief outing for him. He made way for Danny Young, who pitched the scoreless eighth inning. The Mets weren't able to once Valdez came out of the game. It was Brian Abreu who took over for the Astros in the eighth. The Mets again got runners on base, but weren't able to come through, and again left runners on base after it was a Brand Nimmo fly out to center, and this led up to a crazy ninth inning. And the story of the 2024 Mets was that they were just this never say die team that would just consistently kept coming back. You couldn't put them away no matter what you did, and it was just part of their identity. It was as much as OMG and the signs and the grimace and all that stuff, all the gimmicky stuff. It was their never say die mentality that consistently kept them in games and led to them coming through and crazy comeback playoff games and regular season games. It was really baked into what kind of team they were, and it was watching that ninth inning. It came like flying back into me, like what the Mets were doing. So the Mets were able to get Starling Marte on base to lead off the inning with a single. Marte coming through in a big situation. Josh Hader was pitching in the ninth inning for the Houston Astros. Hader, a new acquisition for the Astros as well. And Marte started the inning with a single. He would be followed by Tyrone Taylor, who got a single also. The story at that point was that Josh Hader wasn't able to get his slider for strikes at that point. He was left two sliders over the plate. Marte and Taylor both reached on singles off those sliders, and at that point Hader pretty much abandoned the pitch for a while. He was focused mostly on fastballs, and it led to this crazy at bat with Luisangel Acuna, who came up and had to just basically manufacture a walk out of it. So it was he started the count 0-2. It looked like he was going down early, and then Acuna, to his credit, it shows amazing poise. The commentators for SNY were, of course, very gave a shout out to how much of a veteran that Acuna often looks. Despite his very young age, and he looked. It was an incredible at bat. Drawing it was, I think, an 11 pitch or 12 pitch walk, if I remember correctly. But it was this just absolutely insane moment where the Mets all of a sudden had the bases loaded, nobody out, and it led to Senger, the backup catcher, the veteran. Journeyman minor leaguer who had made the team thanks to a strong spring training. The Mets felt confident with his defense behind the plate, and with the injury to Francisco Alvarez, the Mets were kind of forced to go with Senger as the backup. Senger took over late in the game for Luis Torrens, and then led to this at bat where all of a sudden he's batting at the top of the ninth, bases loaded, nobody out. Senger would ultimately strike out. Tough luck there. Led to Francisco Lindor getting in a bat, and Lindor. If people were, I'm sure, excited because one of the signature moments of the 2024 campaign was the Lindor Grand Slam in the NLDS against the Philadelphia Phillies that ultimately was the death blow to the Phillies and got the Mets to the NLCS. But in this case, Lindor would fly out to deep center, scoring in a run, which kept the Mets from being shut out. And they said it was the Mets avoided a shutout for the first time on opening day. The last time would have been, I think they said 62 years ago. If that's correct, that's pretty astonishing. I'll have to fact check that for a second, but yeah, it was. Mets at least avoided a shutout, and then it led to this moment with Juan Soto coming to the plate, and it appeared for all the world that Josh Hader was very intent on walking Juan Soto because Soto quickly went up 3-0 against Hader, and the logical assumption would have been, okay, I don't want to deal with this guy. Soto's numbers for his career at Minute Maid Park were were very good. 9 for 17, I believe they said, 3 home runs, and he just tore up the Astros during his time with the Yankees as well during that series. So he's had a lot of success. And again, it was up 3-0. It really didn't look like I would have assumed that it was going to be Hader just throwing sliders at Soto and seeing if any of them were able to get over the plate, or Soto was able to swing at any of them. And again, Hader had very little command with that slider. He was able to throw a slider on 3-1 that seemed to sort of get Hader out of his funk. Soto let it go, and people and Gary Cohen and Gary Keefe and Ron were speculating that Soto might have had the green light of 3-0 because it was a slider right over the plate, and Soto probably could have taken that one deep if he had taken the swing at it. But who knows? Soto would then foul one off on a high fastball, leading to a 3-2 count. And ultimately struck out on a slider that was like a wipeout slider that broke completely off the plate, and Soto surprisingly struck out. And it's a tough image for your best player, your highest paid player, being ultimately the I don't want to say the GOAT in this situation, but him striking out was certainly a blow, and it led to more runners being left on base. I'm not going to criticize Soto for anything because I think he was one of the few guys actually getting on base and doing anything that entire game. There were not a lot of great at-bats from the Mets, in particular Mark Vientos, who looked, I won't say lost, but was probably overly aggressive, which I like in the fact that Vientos is expected to be a big part of the middle of that lineup, but the Astros took full advantage of his aggressiveness, and they were throwing him a lot of off-speed stuff, a lot of stuff where Vientos just couldn't get a clean swing at it, and was just kind of flailing up there at various times during at-bats. So I didn't really love what he was doing. Brandon Nimmo looked also a little bit too aggressive. Francisco Lindor, despite having the sac fly, was 0 for 5 in this game. Or I guess 0 for 4 with the sac fly. So he wasn't great in this one either. Robbed on a leadoff line drive to short by Jeremy Pena, who made an incredible catch to start the game off, which looking back, it kind of seemed like a bad omen for the Mets from that point on. And that was really it. I mean, like, when you sum up all of your offense in really basically one inning, it's not a great sign for you. Who looked really great was Pete Alonso, I gotta say. And Alonso was the guy on deck for the Mets had Soto been able to get on base. And Pete Alonso, despite not having a ton of impact on this one, he had a base hit and a walk. I really liked his at-bats, though. He looked very comfortable at the plate. He was one of the few guys who wasn't swinging up there and just letting Framber Valdez just throw curveballs at you. And, again, Valdez had a electric curveball today. He looked really, really good and sharp, and Alonso was able to kind of parry or lay off of any of those curves and was able to have great at-bats the entire game. And in the 8th inning, again, had a really good at-bat, and just ultimately he was not really the problem. It was basically everybody else. Luis Torrens didn't look good. Luis Angel Acuna, despite that last great at-bat by him, also wasn't really sharp. Starling Marte didn't really impact the game a lot until the 9th inning, and so reached base twice, though. So there are certainly things to work on. Only 6 base hits, 1 run, and that 1 run coming on sac fly shows that the team was they were definitely kept off their A game in this one. So it was a tough loss, especially with that great comeback in the 9th inning. But I'm encouraged by the fact that they still look like a team that has that same sort of built-in identity to them, which is that never say die, and the fact that that lineup is so deep, even with that clearly like lacking some guys in there, and I didn't even mention because his impact was so little, but Jesse Winker came up late in that game and ultimately grounded out on our first pitch in the 8th inning. So no real impact there on his part, but it was. It was a tough loss. I'm hoping to see better at bats for them, but again, the lineup is so deep that even when they get guys like Francisco Alvarez and Jeff McNeil back, we hope later this month, we can expect a unit that's just going to be really dangerous just with that depth. We didn't see Jose Siri in this game. We hopefully see them tomorrow. Same thing for Brett Beatty, who didn't get a chance to impact the game, but was certainly very vocal on the sidelines. They showed Beatty being a great cheerleader on there, and if nothing else, he seems like a great teammate, a guy who's very selfless, and a guy who has good relationships with his teammates. So I'm excited to see if Beatty can do anything in the series, and hopefully he gets a chance to play and start soon, as soon as possibly tomorrow. So again, tough loss. Really nothing more to say about that other than I hope we're trending in the right direction. Just in terms of what they saw that they could be doing better. Soto, despite the strikeout at the end of the game, I was just blown away by, again, and I've said this multiple times, but I'll say it again. I'll keep saying it probably. Soto looks absolutely dynamite from an offensive point of view. As a guy who just keeps on getting on base, doesn't look overmatched at any point. He has made the assertion that he's perhaps overconfidently that he's the best hitter in baseball, and there will be Yankee fans crowing, especially after the Yankee win today, that Soto was ultimately the guy with egg on his face after the strikeout at the end of the game. But it's a long season. We still have a lot to go. The way I'm planning on structuring these episodes for the remainder of the season is an episode after a big moment. So if there's like a walk-off win, or if there's maybe a big first win, hopefully tomorrow we'll see that first big win for the Mets. I'll be recording. So big moments I'll be recording afterwards, and then I'm going to try to stick as much as possible to a normal schedule, which is going to be every weekend, either Saturday night or Sunday night, recording and releasing an episode. So I'm trying to stick with a consistent schedule, so that I am able to stick with this and make sure that I have at least a consistent sort of momentum to the way I release these episodes, because I don't want it to be just kind of releasing them whenever, and sometimes work gets in the way, sometimes personal life gets in the way, but I'm going to do my best to avoid that whenever possible. It's again, long season, tough loss. You got to roll with it, but very happy to have baseball back. Got to enjoy it. Was a fun way to end the game and a fun way to finish after a day at work, to see the Mets and watch all of it. Watch the end of the game at least. Hope everyone is encouraged by what the positive signs were today, and hope everybody doesn't take the negative things that we saw today too hard. Again, we have 161 games more to go, and hopefully even more after that if the Mets make the postseason. So hope everyone has a wonderful night. Take care. Let's go Mets. Let's hope for a win tomorrow.
This is the theme
Thank you for listening to Mike's METS podcast. If you haven't already, please follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave a like and a comment, it helps so much. Finally, please follow our Twitter and Blue Sky pages. You can find us at Twitter at Mike's METS Pod, all one word, and on Blue Sky at Mike's METS Podcast.bsky.social. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day or evening, and let's go Mets.